Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Deep Waves Transformation. Today's guest is someone who brings both deep presence and powerful strategy to the world of personal and professional transformation. Dayna April is a leadership and embodiment coach who merges over a decade of high-level startup experience with thousands of hours in somatic movement, meditation, and embodied leadership training. She works with individuals, communities, and companies to create transformational somatic experiences that cultivate radical self awareness, authentic alignment, and values led growth. Her work is a beautiful blend of the mind and body, of leadership and lived experience. And she teaches that true power comes from dropping out of the noise in your head and into the wisdom of your body. Whether you're a leader, a creative, or someone on a personal growth path, this conversation will invite you to reconnect, realign, and remember who you are. Dayna, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. You're so lovely. Just right off the bat, you're just so lovely.
Thank you so much. Well, again, thank you for being here and sharing your story. So, can you take us back? How did your journey into somatics and leadership coaching begin?
My goodness. Well, it started a little over a decade ago. I kind of had finished college. I moved to New York. I was introduced to the sort of world of, I don't know that at the time I certainly didn't know it was called somatics, but I was introduced to a really interesting group of people living in New York that were artists and dancers and yoga teachers. And I remember hearing the word chakra for the first time and was like, what
Huh?
is all of this? And that kind of set me on this journey. I actually left New York. I started traveling. I actually grew up dancing, like not professionally, but competitively. And so I had a lot of dance training, but it was the first time that I ever experienced movement for the sake of movement, and movement that was led from the body or from the breath as opposed to choreography. And, this is how you're supposed to do it. And
5,
5, 6, 7, 8, right? And so that was like wild to me because I loved to dance, but I had always done it in this really structured way. And so in New York is sort of when I first got introduced to, I don't know if you've ever heard of something called like five rhythms or other modalities like that. And then I went on this big adventure traveling, taking dance classes sort of wherever I could in South America and Africa and Hawaii. And that was kind of when I got cracked open to the power of movement and the power of being really embodied from a place that was not because I know how to do a fouette or a pirouette. It was like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
this is what my body wants to do. This is how my body wants to move. And that led me to actually moving back to LA, where I'm from and now live. Um, and I found a teacher who just met me on every level. She taught movement and meditation and embodied leadership training. And I've been studying under her for about a decade now. I actually have an intensive training this weekend that I'll be heading into. And so that was sort of one side of my life. And then on the other side, I got in when I moved back to LA, I sort of fell into the startup world, never really had an intention of doing that, but found a mentor who I worked under for many years. And that one thing led to another. And that just became sort of this other part of my life. And it wasn't until the end of last year that I actually I got laid off. Like, every startup comes with that risk, that inherent risk. And my whole team got laid off. The company just didn't do what we all hoped and wanted so much. And it really became this portal, this opening for me to look at, like, I've lived these lives, I've lived these sort of this double life. I've gotten all this training and skill and mentorship in both of these areas. Like, if I'm ever going to try and just see if I can combine these, like, now feels like the time. And
Yeah.
so I went for it, and I launched my business, and it's been the most rewarding, satisfying. Like, I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, it just feels like the outside finally matches the inside.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. So,
So then, up until that point, what had you experienced to want to even introduce that side of the world? Something, did anything traumatic happen in your life where you
yeah.
felt like you needed some healing?
Yeah, great question. I think yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say. I went through a period towards the end of high school, actually. I went on birth control. I don't know if your audience is mostly women, but I'm gonna assume it is, so maybe this will be relatable. I went on birth control for the first time towards the end of end of high school, and my whole body changed. My whole like I didn't even recognize myself. Didn't feel good. And it was interesting because I actually went off of birth control. And that's when I got cystic acne. Like, my whole skin broke out. And it was this very interesting thing. Like, you think you're getting to the end of high school and you're going off to college. And I sort of went into this, like, oh my, I feel like I'm back in middle school. Like, I'm going through like weight gain and like acne, and it was kind of like I was cheerleading captain, right? Like, it was sort of like didn't match my idea of myself, right? Of like going through all of this. And it kind of spiraled me into, I, first of all, the medication itself like just did not go well with my hormones and my system. And so I kind of went into a depression, I think, on both sides. If I'm really honest, like, there was like what was happening chemically, hormonally in my body, but then there was just this like, who is this person? I have no idea who this is, and I'm about to go off to college and wanted to be like so sure of myself, right? Like, in this new environment, and I like didn't even recognize myself. So that was like a sort of traumatic experience for me, in that I had like a sort of an identity crisis, if you will, at like this young age, and seemingly like superficial things, but it kind of rocked me because I didn't feel like myself at all. I was always like a happy-go-lucky, spirited, kid, and all of a sudden I was just like a shadow of myself and a shell of myself. So that sort of happened and sort of lasted all through college. I had to go on Accutane so I couldn't drink, which at the time was a big deal when you're in college freshman year and you can't like be doing what everyone else is doing,
Right?
right? Going in, I had to take like an hour bus ride into the city every month to get my blood work done. Like, there was just a whole bunch of things that happened. And so that sort of depression continued to go. And I also, and here's the interesting thing, I somehow ended up choosing a school that didn't have a dance program. So I didn't dance for 4 years. And it didn't even occur to me because at that point in my life, dance was so like just part of who I was. I knew I never wanted to be a professional dancer, but I was dancing every day pretty much. I was in the dance company and everything. And I didn't at that time understand the mind body connection. And so,
Ah,
yeah,
uh-huh.
right? Like, I was just like, no, I dance, whatever. And so I go to the school. There were two dance classes. It was like the history of jazz, and it was like,
Yeah, the typical Gen
and
X. Yeah.
yeah. And so I went 4 years pretty much without really moving my body. Like, I went to the gym a little bit. I tried that out. Not for
Sure.
me. But like, right. And so it was when I actually left college, moved to New York, and sort of got introduced to this five rhythms, this somatic, more intuitive movement, that all of a sudden this light bulb went off of like, oh my gosh, there's something here. Like, I've been missing this. I've been
Yeah.
so disconnected from myself. I've been so in this like depressed hole for 5 years. And that was the thing that like I kind of got hooked, because I was like, whoa, there's so much here for me to explore. And that feeling is kind of just what led me to be like, what is this? What's here?
Right. So then for those that are new to somatics, how would you describe mind-body connection in your own words?
Yeah. So I think of it like most of us, myself included, still, live from the neck up. it's what we're trained to do in this society. Like, we're a very cerebral society. We're always thinking our way through everything, right? We're trying to make decisions from our mind. We're told in school that, like, this is the most important thing, right? We need to be able to problem solve, think analytically, think critically, think. And like, the mind is beautiful, right? It's so beautiful. Meanwhile, we use like this much of it.
I know.
However, there is just so much intelligence and wisdom in the body. Memories are stored in the body, trauma is stored in the body, good things are stored in the body too. Like, it's not all bad, but there's so much wisdom and intelligence. And so for me, the practice of somatics is the reconnection with the body so that we can access all of that wisdom, all of that intelligence, including the mind, right? Soma in Greek means body. That's where somatics comes from. But it gives us access to a much more holistic and integrated version of ourselves, so that as we move through the world, we're more in touch and in tune with the cues and the signals that our body is giving us all the time, that if we're only located in our mind, we miss out on, right? It's like, there are things happening all the time, and then all of a sudden we get really sick and we're like, where did that come from? And it was like, well, actually 3 weeks ago, when you started feeling whatever, but ignored it, right? And so it's giving us access. Somatics for me is giving us access back to this wisdom, this intelligence, this integration, and ultimately, like, presence, right? The more that we can be embodied, the more that we can live here and know what's happening and know what information is here, the better we are able to make decisions about our life, and the better we know, like, who to be friends with and what job to take. Like, there's information that our body is telling us all the time about what makes us feel safe, what doesn't make us feel safe. And we're so trained out of that we override it all the time. So being in a practice of being embodied is giving yourself access to that level of safety, of being able to make decisions, and being in alignment really with who you are.
Yeah, because embodiment is so essential for emotional regulation and clarity and aligned decision making and all of that, right?
All that. All that.
All
Yeah.
of it. So then in a world that constantly is pulling us into our heads, how can we begin to reconnect with our bodies as a source of truth?
Totally. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm doing it right now. As soon as you asked the question, it's like immediately my mind went right to my feet.
Love it.
Right to my feet. And I'm barefoot right now. I'm at home, so I can be comfy, cozy. I'm barefoot.
Uh-huh.
I have a little squishy mat under my desk. And
Yeah.
I'm just feeling the sensations that are in my feet. And it can be that simple. It can be that simple to just go, whoop, oh, right, I have a body. Like, I
Become aware, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sorry, I feel like I forgot the question because I went into
No,
my
you're okay. You answered that beautifully. You answered that beautifully. We're just talking about how it just brings us clarity and gets us back in our head and keeps us grounded. And of course,
right. I think
brings
you
a
said
lot.
the word grounded, so immediately I went to my feet because that's the place
Yeah.
I go when I need to feel
Yeah.
grounded. It just brings the energy that's like, when we're up here and when we're seeing and we're thinking and we're hearing from this place, it can be as simple as feeling, where are my feet right now? That brings us back into the present moment and brings us back into our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you often talk about leading your life with alignment. What does that actually look or feel like day to day?
Yeah. This is a great question. And it's one I'm still working on trying to explain to people because it is so much of a feeling that I have. But I sort of, as I started, right, where it feels like the outsides are finally matching the insides, right? Like, what I'm doing in my life is actually a reflection of my values. And
Yeah.
I know my values because I'm actually in touch with them and I'm embodying them. And so one of my biggest values is integrity, is living in integrity. And the root of the word integrity, um, integral, like, it means wholeness, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, when I talk about living in alignment, it's like, I have access to my wholeness, which means that I feel everything, right? It's not about like just feeling good and happy and positive all the time. It means I actually have space and capacity to be with my whole self and to feel the things that don't necessarily feel good, but have the tools and skills and awareness to say, okay, what is there here for me to learn from this? Right. And then be willing to do what's needed to get myself back into a regulated, we talked about nervous system regulation, right? Get myself back into a regulated place and space. But yeah, so alignment for me, it's this integrity, it's this wholeness, and it's that my actions and what I'm doing on the outside are really a reflection of how I feel and what I value on the inside.
Does it feel and look like peace?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
like top of the ladder, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
peace, it's freedom, it's and it's, I don't know, this word just came in, but it's like courageous. It's like it's a
Yeah.
courageous way to live, right?
It
To
really
actually like yeah, be in touch with yourself and live in that way. Yeah, it's
No, that's perfect. Yeah. But that's what it is for me. It just the one word is just peace. Is my body at peace? Do I feel like it's at peace or am I still in fight or flight? I
absolutely.
always have to check the two, you know?
Yeah,
Always
absolutely.
ask me, okay, where am I at?
Yeah. And it's so
But
easy. It's so easy to get triggered, right? It's so easy to like come out of
and
that.
you're always going to get triggered.
Oh,
Society, your environment, your family, your friend. I mean, everything is going to trigger you.
yeah.
It is how do we respond to those triggers? And those are our fault. Those are our responsibility. They're not anybody else's. So we have to do the inner work to realize, okay, that person just said this to me, which really upset me. And because now I'm upset, I'm going to get in a bad mood. I'm going to start shaking. I'm going to get hot, sweaty, really angry, really frustrated, irritable. And so we have to learn how to de escalate those emotions. And that's emotional regulation. That is becoming a boss girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really being in
Oh,
check with your emotions.
absolutely. Because it's that self responsibility that you're referring to, right? How easy is it for us to get triggered and want to blame and shame and make it the other person's fault?
So
When,
easy. But like today, I feel like it's just not a good look anymore.
no, not.
Honestly,
It's
I'm like,
really
ew, you didn't take responsibility. That's gross. Like, it gives me the ick. I don't know.
you are an evolved human. You are, we're all trying to get to be more like Tasha. Like, that's where we're going. That's where we're headed for
No,
sure. But
seriously, I'm just like, ew. Now, the more you become aware and the more you educate yourself and the more you grow and learn, stuff just starts to drop off that didn't matter like it used to. So it's like, oh, it's such a beautiful thing though. I
it
love
is.
it.
Yeah. Self responsibility is the number one thing when it comes to personal development, right? There's like so many things we can do. There's so many, we can do the breath work, we can do the yoga, we can do the movement, we can do the meditation, we can do all the
All the
things,
things. Yeah.
things. But if we're not willing to take responsibility for ourselves, for our triggers, for the things that make us uncomfortable, and be willing to look at like what in me just got activated, right? Like, sure, they said the thing, but what just happened for me?
Yeah.
And
And then try to find out where that comes from. Where does the root of that emotion come from? Like I had a guest the other day, she gets pulled over by a male cop,
mm,
which she's got a thing against men. And so when she gets pulled over by a male cop, it's like, who do you think you are? Kind of like, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
so she realized, oh, it's because of that one trigger I had or that one event that happened to me when I was like 8. And I'm
yeah,
so sorry. I took it out on you. I projected. So we really have to like become aware of what emotion we're feeling and then really do the digging work to find out where that came from. It could have came from anywhere in your childhood that as adults today, we're just taking that out on people, but we really got to check ourselves every day if we need
every
to.
day. And that's so much where like my clients who come to me in the somatic work, it's like they're having these issues and they've been to therapy and they've tried all the things and they don't understand why they still haven't been able to move in their life or clear this thing, right? And it's like when I when we work together and I take them into the body, I mean, this is just like, it could be a simple meditation, it could be hand on heart, right? We're just making contact with what's there. It's amazing the things that come out, right? It's amazing what's stored in the body that they're like, all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, I just did 2 years of therapy in one session with you because we went in and found the place that we can't find when we're just in our heads. We're just trying to solve the problem from the place that like created it. Right. So that's the somatic work can be so helpful, especially if you feel like you've tried a lot of things. If you haven't tried the somatic piece, that could be a huge unlock.
And it probably will be. And I'll share a story on that as well. I
Yeah.
went to a sound bathing session a couple weeks ago. And you know how they use she had like 40 to 60 like different instruments of all kinds. It just blew me away. And this was my first session with her. And I'm laying there and they walk around you. So you're laying on this really comfortable mat and you've got your left hand on your heart, your right hand over it. And they walk in between the mats and they place these instruments like over your body. So like the sound waves she would drape across me all the way from the head to the feet. And then she had like a vibrating thing with her hand. My eyes were closed, so I
The
couldn't
tuning
really
fork.
see.
The,
Yeah. So what is it?
a lot of times they'll use a tuning fork. So they'll
Oh, is that what it is? And she placed it on my third eye, my heart chakra, and then the bottom of my feet. Okay, so that's what that's called. But as soon as she's going over my body with these instruments, especially the waves, you literally can feel it in your body. It's so strong and so powerful that like your cells are vibrating, like molecularly vibrating. It's insane. And then after the experience, you're just like in tears. You're like, oh my God, that was so beautiful. Like I did so much healing in that session, you know?
sound is so powerful.
Oh,
So beautiful.
oh my God, you guys, I just got chills. But yeah,
I have this is a little koshi chime, which is often used in sound baths as well. I don't know if you can hear that, but I
all
love
of
those.
those, along with like this beautiful story that she was telling. And it just really unlocked a lot of generational trauma that I was trying to break. So that was beautiful. But yeah, those instruments really do a number on your body. It feels so good.
Yeah,
Mm, feels
sound, movement, breathing. There's so many ways in. There's so many ways to activate and unlock and open the body. Obviously, it's lovely to be held in a nice container like that with someone who
yeah.
knows what they're doing and who can be there for whatever comes up. For some people, it's tears. For some people, it's joy. For some people, right, it's all the things. Can be any of the things I should say. And yeah, being with like a skilled practitioner is amazing who can really hold the space so you can do the work and feel
Yeah.
free to surrender and let go and let the sound, the breath, the movement, whatever it is, really move through you is yeah.
Yeah, it felt really good because just knowing that I had a space to go to and there the room was filled with like 20, 25 people in there. And by the end of the session, I'm the only one that's like hysterically in tears. And she's like, I honor you. I see your tears. I validate. Like she just gave me so much love. I was like, oh my God, I needed this my whole life.
Yeah, I'm so glad
Really
you
like trying to find your people is another thing too. Like coming out
yeah.
of such a chaos environment, just finding those healing community people that are just there for you in your corner, like truly, truly there for you.
It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, really. It's so beautiful. And so much healing can be done collectively too and in community. And even if you're
In one session, I was like, holy cow.
and even if you were the only one like crying externally, there's so many things I could say about, you could have been holding the whole room and all the tears, or you could be releasing so much for everybody in this space. But your system is like open enough, right? To actually like be able to, because I know you do so much work on yourself, right? So it's like
Yep.
you may have been the one to be able to release, unlock for not just you, for like people in the space. Whenever I'm in a space and somebody's crying, I'm like, thank you. Like I truly feel that way. I'm like, thank you for doing your work, for doing your healing. Like I'm getting that release, even though the tears aren't coming from my eyes. I truly feel that way. I'm like, thank you, whatever you're going through. I'm sure many of us have gone through, and you're like healing all of us right now.
Really. I mean, that's kind of, you're right, actually, because like I was literally the only one just laying on my mat still, and everybody was in meditation position, and I was just still there bawling my eyes out. And then she basically called me out. She's like, "And what's your name?" And I was like, "I'm Tasha." And she's like, "Do you want to tell us what you just experienced and went through?" And then that's just when I went off and told her everything as I'm bawling, and everybody's just like,
Yeah. Collective healing.
really listening. I'm like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
so
and
special.
to be witnessed in that, right? And to be seen in that. I run a I started this movement called the SABS Club, which stands for see and be seen, like this. Yeah, see and be seen. I run these workshops here in LA, and I'm going to be coming out with an online version, and they're my favorite things to do, but the power of being witnessed is very vulnerable for people, but the healing that is possible, and the power of actually letting yourself be seen and receiving that can be life changing, like in
Yeah,
any which way, whether it's like you're going through a hard time, whether you're going through an amazing time, wherever on the spectrum you are, to be witnessed in the complexity, in the human spectrum, wherever you are on the spectrum, to be witnessed, to allow somebody to see you, can literally change your life. Like,
yeah.
what?
My vulnerability is my superpower,
Yeah,
and
it can change
I'm
your life, and it can change the
about it.
people. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it can change your life, and it can also change the people's lives who get to witness you. Like, it's such a
That's
gift.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah, a gift for them to give you, but also there's so many gifts that are received, right, from
exactly.
witnessing you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, this
So
is
then
my.
how do you support your clients in identifying where they're operating from, conditioning or performance versus authenticity and truth?
Mm,
How do you hone in on your clients?
yeah, it's my job is being a mirror. So my job's not to be like, you're out of authenticity, you're out of integrity. My job is to say, oh, you just made that decision. How does that feel in your body? And they're like, oh, I have a stomach ache. And I'm like, oh, let's talk about that. Right. So my job is, sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, there's things I see and I'm like, but my job is really to be a mirror and to ask the questions that help my clients understand what they want, right? What their truth is and how they're living in alignment or out of alignment. And it's not for me. No judgment on my part, right? Like,
Right.
but my job is to help them feel, understand, and create a relationship with again, the wisdom of the body, so that their actions match what's going on inside. And it's a process, right? If you've been living one way for a really long time, you're likely going to keep making those choices until you get to a point where you're like, this really doesn't feel good, right? Like, and you've done a little more work to get connected to your body, and so you're like, I now can make that decision, or right, I lash out at that person again, or whatever the
Right. Yeah.
thing is, right? And then you finally get to a point where you're like, I am so done with this pattern, right? I'm
Yeah.
so down to this pattern, but that's not for me to decide. That's for the client to decide. And I just kind of help show them, let's look at how did you feel after you made that decision? How did you feel after that conversation? And we just kind of go based on like, felt amazing, felt kind of shitty. And I'm like, sorry if I'm not allowed to curse on here. But
You, yep. Natural and raw, girl. You got this.
yeah. That's, yeah, kind of a mirror, or a guide, or a way shower of just into them though, right? For
Yeah.
them to
You're
make that decision.
yeah, you're bringing them the clarity and the awareness, and they're making the decisions on what to do with that.
Yeah, totally.
That's right there. I feel like is the difference between therapy and life coaching. They're just, I no disrespect, but they're just by the book kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't really feel like I'm sitting there talking to a real person. It's not like we're bouncing off experiences with each other. They would never share me anything traumatic that's happened in their lives. They
Right.
just got their little notepad and their pen. Like, you know how we're really talking about our experiences and our journeys and we're growing together and like, this is what we do. So they don't really equip you with the tools and the resources the way that we do. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. No, I it and I think I think there's so many coaches out there, right? And there's so many options and therapists and everything. And I think finding the right one, right? Finding the one that you do resonate with, that you maybe,
Absolutely.
right, see yourself in a little bit, or they have what you want that you want it, but you don't know how to get there yet, or whatever it is. Like finding the right person for you is so important. And a lot of that does have to do with the work that they've done, the traumas they've experienced, right? What they've gone through, because then you
Exactly.
become relatable. And then they're like, an ally in this journey that's coming from a place of like, hey, I see you. I really see you. Right. And yeah. And then when the client feels seen, it's like, again, magic can happen, right? Things can shift and transform.
Yeah, and then also too, they want you to do therapy along with your like prescription medications together kind of thing. Why is that? Like, aren't we supposed to get off of both of you guys eventually? You know what I'm saying? So it's like they keep us hooked together. And it's like, no, no. You can do this without medication. Like they did that to me after my journey. Like, here's 4 prescriptions for your depression and anxiety. Go take them, you'll be fine. No, I almost wanted to kill myself. Honestly, I almost drove my car through a wall because of this medication.
Mm.
And so I threw them out the window. I said, I can't do this anymore. I've got to literally do this completely 100% sober. No alcohol, no drugs, no prescriptions, only my multivitamins, only the really good vitamins that you take on a daily. But I'm trying to do this with nothing is the hardest part, but it can be done though. That's the thing.
And
You
and
have
what
to.
have you found has there been one thing or a few things that you feel like really gives you that peace that you talked about, right? Is there anything that's like really worked for you?
As far as vitamins, I did switch into I tried kratom for a while. And
Okay.
so kratom, I've tried the white strain and the green strain and the red strain. So I do the white and the green. Those are more daytime. So it focuses on focus,
Oh,
clarity, and energy. And
okay.
then the red strain focuses on de-stressing, relaxation, and sleep.
Amazing. I've never heard of this, but I'm like,
Yeah, all natural. It's plant-based. So it's kratom, Kratom, kratom.
okay. And then anything outside of like vitamins or
No, just my regular my blood work showed my cortisol levels were through the roof when I was in this abusive toxic relationship, my
hair? Yeah.
last one, and they were through the roof. And now I had some new blood work done and it's completely flawless. Like I've never been so healthy in my life. It's incredible. It's incredible what getting out of shitty toxic environments can do for your internal self. Like it's wild.
Well, I will say too that like, you know, something you were mentioning therapy and medication and everything, like you can be in all of that, but if your environment doesn't change,
Yeah.
that's going to be a real long road to healing, trying to do that work in the same environment that's causing all the things, right? It's possible. It's possible you could do enough inner work. You could, that maybe you start influencing in your environment, right? There's so much we don't have control over, but it's possible that you do your work, you inspire whoever is in your life. But, if you are willing to put yourself above whatever thing is getting in the way of you being in your peace, right? And you're willing to actually prioritize that and claim that and own that and do whatever you need to do, right? Which may look like changing your environment. Your rate of healing is going to change drastically if you take yourself out of the toxic environment that you're in. Your rate of growth and change is just going to skyrocket. So the fact that you're able to, in a month or so, you said, change your cortisol, like, because that's a hard marker.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
It was about a year and a half. It took
okay.
me a year and a half to get my blood work
Yeah.
and my body regulated again.
I mean, even that's fast, honestly. Even that,
Yes, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
actually.
it's
I
that
like to incorporate a lot of extra B vitamins and magnesium and zinc and iron for sure, along with
beautiful.
kratom to keep me focused, energetic, all that, all the good healthy stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
it starts there.
Yeah, it's all out there. It's all out there. It's like, your level of commitment to taking it all on, right? Or which parts of it you want to take on. And
It's where my
Um,
bravery comes from. I'm like, you gotta have those pep talks with yourself. You're like, I got this, girl. I got this. It's
it's
okay. You don't need that shit. It's okay.
That's huge. Also, I mean, even honestly, like our speaking out loud to yourself is huge because our
Yeah.
own the like vibrations of our own voice, us hearing that is the most powerful voice we can hear. Right? Because the one in our head is often like, right?
Yeah,
And so to sort
exactly.
of short circuit that one that's in our head with our own voice, our own tone, our own direction
Yep.
is incredibly powerful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So then what have been some of your personal success stories with your own clients? I'm dying to hear success stories.
um So I'm working with, and I'm always like towing the line of how much to share and how, how much to keep confidential and personal. But I think probably one of the biggest things with my clients is, generally speaking, they come to me for reason X, right? And they think that's the problem. And when we go in and do the somatic work, they realize it's problem Y.
Right.
And that sometimes they're very related, and sometimes they usually are related, but sometimes there's an obvious connection and sometimes there's a non-obvious connection. But I think the biggest transformation has happened for my clients when they're willing to let go of this in service of addressing this thing that came up. And once we get to the root, right? Because that's usually the root. Um, the changes that I see in my clients, it could be a 1 degree difference, it could be a 180-degree difference, but either way, that trajectory over time looks very, very different in their life. Like, you've heard that before, the 1 degree, right? But
Right.
over time, you're miles apart. So, um, the transformation for the clients that I work with, one of my biggest criteria is not that you have to have done any somatic work. You don't have to know anything about it. You don't have to feel embodied, have any kind of relationship with your body. You have to have a level of curiosity and a level of commitment. And those are the two things that when I'm looking for clients, when I'm sort of assessing clients, I'm like, are they willing? Are they open to this work? Right? Or am I going to be faced with resistance the entire time? And are they actually committed to, when we come up with something, to like look at that and be really willing to look at it and be really willing to sort of sort through and get underneath it and dissolve it. And when those two things are present, the transformation, the inspiration, the creativity, right? The ownership, the confidence, the clarity that comes through these women is like mind blowing, right? They are different
You
people.
can start to see their little spark coming back in their eye again, huh?
Totally. They get their power back, they get their power back. Again, they're embodied, they feel themselves, they know what feels good, what doesn't feel good anymore. They're more connected with their truth and their authenticity, right? And all these things that have been piled on them, we start to peel off and they get to reawaken to who they actually are. And from there, it's like, what's possible?
Right? Anything, everything is possible. That's just the beginning.
That's just the beginning. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if someone is listening right now feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, or numb, what would you say to them?
First of all, I'm sure it makes sense. Like, whatever is going on in your life that got you to that place, I'm sure it makes sense that you're feeling that way. And I think a lot of us will compound those feelings by feeling guilt and shame about them. And so by giving ourselves some grace and being able to kind of take a little zoomed out view and a little perspective and be like, oh yeah, it makes sense that I feel numb. I am trying to block out this. I am trying to, right? Like, my body is trying to protect me. My mind is trying to protect me. So that's the first thing, is just coming into awareness of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is the first step, which you said, if they are aware of, I'm feeling numb, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling blocked. Number two is giving yourself some grace, right? It makes sense, trying to come into that part of us that is actually the one who holds. all of us. Like, because that numbness, that depression, that is a part of us. It's not all of us. And it's trying to do its job for some reason. And
Yes.
so being able to sort of zoom out a little bit and be like, I see you. Like, I see that you're trying to do something here for me to protect me, keep me safe, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, once that part is seen, usually it has some information for us. Usually it has some wisdom. It can feel, I mean, it can feel painful. Like it's not comfortable to actually be with and see and accept that feeling. But
But that's
once that's the work. And then
that's
once yeah, and once we do that, we give ourselves the opportunity to shift it, to change it. So
exactly.
there's the awareness, there's the acceptance, and then there's the like action. Like, what do I actually want to do with this information now that I have it? What do I want to do with it? And it's in the action, right? And this is what, working with a coach can be helpful to go through all of these steps and be held in a container. But it's really in the action step that I see the most transformation with clients, because it's that, that's the word I'm thinking of. It's slipping my mind. But agency, basically, right? Like when you feel like you have agency and you're choosing to do something about it, that's when our power starts to come back. That's when we start to feel reconnected to ourselves. And I was talking on a podcast a few weeks ago, and I was saying how, awareness is amazing, but nothing happens if we stay in awareness, right? We need the action step to actually make the change. And yeah, but I think a lot of people, they stay there, right? Like they're like, oh my gosh, I'm aware of it. And that's a huge step in and of itself. But it's getting from awareness into action. And once you start taking one little action and another little action, and these can be small things, right? This could be like, I'm going to consciously make myself a cup of tea this morning. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, walk, go outside for 5 minutes on a walk. Like it can be little tiny things that eventually to us feeling like we're back in agency and making choices for ourselves, that gives us more confidence and more courage to do some of the bigger things that we might need to do, that are the things that kind of kept us numb or depressed or whatever in the first place, right? So it's like if we start small, we actually start building and getting behind ourselves a little bit more so that we can do the bigger things when there's the time for that.
Exactly. Don't let time be an excuse, because I think that is like the number one comment that I hear a lot is I don't have time.
Which the
Well,
real response to that is I chose not to.
maybe what I would say, I would recommend you picking up some lessons behind Master Shi Hung Yi, who describes it beautifully as there is no such thing as time. There is just now.
Hmm.
Yes, you may have that 3 o'clock or that 5 o'clock or that 1 o'clock appointment, but when you stop and think about it, there's just now.
Mm.
I'm sitting in this chair now. Show me yesterday. You can't. We're here. We're right just now. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like you do have the time.
Yeah.
Honor yourself with that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Commit to yourself that 5 minutes. You've got it for everybody else. You're
Right.
so busy taking care of everybody else. Just
Right.
give it to you, the one that matters first. That's the most important thing.
Yep.
Well, what an insightful and soul-centered conversation with you, Dayna. I really appreciate your outlook and in your wisdom and just everything that you taught us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. You're amazing. Thank you for all the work you're doing in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, your wisdom around embodiment, alignment, and leading from within is a powerful invitation to slow down,
Mm.
tune
Yep.
in, and start living from a place of truth rather than performance.
Mm.
Stop performing.
Mm.
So, if you're ready to drop out of your head and into your body to live and lead in full alignment, Dana's work is a beautiful place to begin. So if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs it and subscribe for more powerful embodied conversations. Until next time, keep listening to your body, trusting your truth, and becoming the leader of your own life. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a beautiful day. For more information on where to find me, please visit deepwavescoaching.com and on my Facebook and Instagram page at Deep Waves Life Coaching. For more information on where to find Dayna, please visit her at daynaapril.com along with her Instagram at daynaapril_. You can explore her offerings, free guided sensation tracking practice, and coaching services through her website or send a direct message on Instagram for quicker engagement. Thanks so much for watching.